この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。Alrighty, welcome everyone. I'm Teeaboo. It's Friday and I'm here for Jujutsu Kaisen, and all I can say is wow! Yow! Woo! Ow, ow, ow! You know, just the normal things that one would say. Oh my goodness, this is cool. The last episodes have been kind of etched into my mind. There's some interesting stuff there, from a total outplay to a glorious turn on a friendship to the straight up Buddhist enlightenment of one of our core characters discovering the nature of reality and using it to whomp a bad guy. I like that. I like that a lot. With enough like subtlety and nuance, and not quite exactly touching on exact particular precise spiritual or religious texts, but enough to verge into a bunch of territory that makes what is presented here in those last couple episodes of Jujutsu Kaisen really freaking interesting. And to make it so that if you have any history of reading such texts, if you have any ideas or have put any work into trying to figure out the nature of reality from a psychological or human perspective, or a spiritual or religious perspective, then what Gojo says and does will light up portions of your brain, will reawaken hidden pieces, and man, it has reawakened some hidden pieces in moi. It's crazy how being reminded of something that you find or found or held dear at one point can just evoke it, can just bring it back to life within you. I said in the last videos that I had these revelations talking about Mu, and that I had since lost them. And over the past week, I have since regained them, and then lost them again, and then regained them, and then lost them again. And I'm becoming more comfortable in that space of not forcing the regaining, and not fearing the losing, just allowing it to flow. Allowing the awareness or lack of awareness to come through me. And I don't know if that means anything to any of you, because it's in that weird space of like, one, I don't know if this is real. Two, I don't know if it can be explained to someone who hasn't explored it or come across that gateless gate. And three, I don't know if it actually matters to the story that we're telling, which is a bit of an issue. But over the course of our last episode, our hero, savior, enlightened one, our sensei, our teacher at the very least, died, was slain, and reborn. Now, technically, I don't think he actually died, because he, did the reverse cursed technique at the exact moment that he was getting stabbed or something. But thematically, he's dead, and then he's back. Reawakened, reborn, reincarnated, and oh so different. So then, I've been asking this whole time, what changed Geto? And maybe I was asking the wrong question. I was also asking what happened between these two. But I expected it would be something Geto would do. Now I'm not so sure. Seems like a tough thing to see eye to eye once someone is seeing through a whole bunch more eyes. So, Toji Fushiguro is no more. He gave himself to his disposed hubris at the end. He had rid himself of pride, rid himself of the willingness to take a fight that was beyond him without planning and preparing perfectly. And instead, he barreled forward, desiring a battle, and he got one. But not against a monster, what he called Gojo, against a god. And he had about as much chance as you'd have facing down a god. So he is no more, and his last words were to ambivalently impart some information. In a few years, my son will be sold. Do with that what you will. And then he fucking died. Pretty badass way to go. Pretty fucked up. In the very last moments in the aftermath, after the ED, Gojo met back up with Geto, and he asked him a question about all those humans in that weird society, hell-bent on destroying the foundations of sorcery, of the Jujutsu world. He asked if they should kill them all. And Geto's response was, you shouldn't do things like that without reason. A very good one. And I said that I didn't understand this, but someone in the comments helped me out and said something that I think is close to correct, so I'm going to start there. Providence. My personal interpretation of the last 5 seconds there is that Geto wanted to slaughter the Star Platinum group people, but felt he could only do it with good reason, and that's why he's come up with a mission to hate humans later on, because that gives him a reason to slaughter them. Suddenly it begins to make sense. If you can lock everything down and reason it out, rationalize it all, you can make that, well, the right, correct, responsible thing to do. Just as we discussed with Gojo and Geto before, Gojo despises that feeling of responsibility or necessity, but Geto sees it as core to being, a path that must be followed critically and clearly and straightforwardly without veering away. That things must be done for reasons. Gojo doesn't quite do that. He's enlightened. Is the truth of it. He's aware that, well, maybe not consciously aware, but what I would say is that there's a trust in your rationality that is not a great thing to trust in. And there's a trust in your spirit, or a trust in your instincts, or a trust in your soul, however you want to ideate it, that's much more trustworthy. I think in a lot of cases, it's easy to look at a situation and say, in my gut, I feel like that's the wrong thing to do, without necessarily being able to come up with a rational reason for it. And I think that in most circumstances, I would be more inclined to trust that gut reaction than a well-executed, well-implemented rationalization, because you can come up with a well-executed, well-implemented rationalization for literally fucking anything. I mean, let's say again, just turn your attention back to the horrific war crimes of the 20th century, and you don't have to look very far to find people coming up with deep rationalizations founded entirely on nihilistic logic to kill lots and lots and lots of people, and your gut goes, oh, that doesn't seem right, but then they go, no, look at these pages and pages and pages of rationalization, they're true, it's the right thing to do, and you go, oh, yeah, that's logical, but it's still not right. So Geto and Gojo are going different directions internally before they start going different directions externally. Then we go somewhere else. A note, and this is the only note I'm going to make on it. I really enjoyed, and I'm grateful for, the large amount of discussion around the question of potential queer baiting around the Geto-Gojo relationship. There's no solve to this. There's no solution or thing where it comes out and I'm like, it definitely is or definitely isn't queer baiting. What I discovered was a lot of people have a lot of different opinions, and they are about the variance of opinions that I would expect. The people who exist in queer spaces and are themselves queer very often see that in Gojo and Geto, it seems, and the people who aren't, or who seem to be subtly against it, don't see that and sometimes are rather defensive about it. Then there's the intricate arguments around whether logically it makes sense that because they're on a bike, that's actually romance, and maybe the 3 words that they said are, I don't know. I don't know what intends here, or intended. But some of the comments have mentioned a feeling like maybe it wasn't there, and that I now see that it's there because people have mentioned it to me. And I can't help but think that maybe the same thing happened on the production side. That whether Gege or wanted to present a potentially romantic or feeling constipated relationship or not, the fandom took that idea and ran with it. And so in production of the anime and thoughts about it afterward, you can't dispense with that sort of meta commentary and might have changed the way that things were adapted. But I don't know. I think that the discussions people have had around it are really fascinating, and I would invite you to go back to the last episode and look through those, and feel free to argue coherently and kindly, if you can, what you think about it. I think it's actually a really interesting topic, and one that is not ever going to stop coming up. Anytime that there are same-sex relationships, whether they're friendships or couples, there's going to be this question around how are they being handled in a way that does different things, and people are going to see different things out of them. I'm gonna stick with some of my guns and say that I do think that there is some intent there. There's too much left unsaid in a way that's very romantic, and it just feels dramatically romantic to me. But I'm going to leave that be and let the comments blather about it as much as they please, because I have something else that I want to jump off of for our discussion. It's the 5th book of a series of 5 books, and I'll tell you what they are at the end of it once I've read it to you. But I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm going to do a drawing. I might actually read it and then edit it so that the reading goes over the drawing. But I'm going to read it and talk about it. What is called the spirit of the void is where there is nothing. It is not included in man's knowledge. Of course, the void is nothingness. By knowing things that exist, you can know that which does not exist. That is the void. People in this world look at things mistakenly and think that what they do not understand must be the void. This is not the true void. It is bewilderment. In the way of strategy, also, those who study as warriors think that whatever they cannot understand in their craft is the void. This is not the true void. To attain the way of strategy as a warrior, you must study fully other martial arts and not deviate even a little from the way of the warrior. With your spirit settled, accumulate practice day by day and hour by hour. Polish the twofold spirit, heart and mind, and sharpen the twofold gaze, perception and sight. When your spirit is not in the least clouded, when the clouds of bewilderment clear away, there is the true void. Until you realize the true way, whether in Buddhism or in common sense, you may think that things are correct and in order. However, if we look at things objectively, from the viewpoint of laws of the world, we see various doctrines departing from the true way. Know well this spirit, and with forthrightness as the foundation, and the true spirit as the way. Enact strategy broadly, correctly, and openly. Then you will come to think of things in a wide sense, and, taking the void as the way, you will see the way as void. In the void is virtue and no evil. Wisdom has existence, principle has existence, the way has existence, spirit is nothingness. 12th day of the 5th month, 2nd year of Shouho, 1645. That is the 5th book, the final book, the Book of the Void, from Miyamoto Musashi's Book of 5 Rings. I stumbled across it a couple days ago as I was investigating MMA fighters and came across Yuri Samurai guy. Yuri Prohashka. Fuck. And I could not help but be reminded of our boy whose domain is the void, the limitless void. What is called the spirit of the void is where there is nothing. By knowing things that exist, you can know that which does not exist. This is true visually and psychologically in terms of the way that our brains actually piece together the world. We see things that have meaning to us. We see the objects around us as representations or symbols of meaning, of actions of purpose. Outside that, outside what we know, what we recognize, everything fuzzes out. Same goes with our literal physical attention. You can't blur your eyes much more than a little bit. You can't unfocus to the point where everything becomes in focus. You kind of have to focus on one thing at a time. And when you do, everything else falls away from your focus. The same is true as you act in your life. If you go through your life looking for, say, ways to gain, you will find them. If you go through your life looking for ways to fail, you will find them. If you go through your life looking for friends, you will find them. If you go through your life looking for enemies, you will find them. What I take from this portion of the Book of the Void is that by knowing what you're looking at and looking for, you can understand what is outside of that. By knowing what is, you can understand how little you know. Or to take from Socrates, the more I know, the more I realize I know nothing. But it's more than that. It's not just the bewilderment of the things that you do not understand. It's not just the bewilderment of those things within your craft that you haven't accomplished yet. It's the knowing of the things that you don't know. The awareness that because of your focus on your way, there is void outside that. And then, as the rest of the chapter or the book goes on, it expresses that you need to study other things and yet retain the way. That you need to understand the true way, and until you do, you will believe that things are correct and in order in reality, when in reality, they depart directly from the true way. And when you come to think of things in a wide sense, you may take the void as the way and the way as the void. That is, to my mind, those things that you know are not the things that you need to focus on. Those things that you realize you don't know because of the things that you know, those are the way. The void is the way, and the way is the void. As you broaden yourself and choose to operate and to walk into the void, to find those places where you are inept, to find those places where you are lacking, to find those knowledges that you know you don't have, then you find those and you orient yourself towards them. You choose to turn your way to the void, and that is the way that you stay in the way. Yes? So the way to the void, to nothingness, to useless nothingness, is to stay on the way that you believe is yours, to stay in your comfort, to stay in that thing that you already know and to optimize it more. This is interesting to me because throughout the rest of the Book of Five Rings, Musashi talks a lot about the necessity of extraordinarily honed in practice, right? He's talking about life or death. He's talking about a single sword stroke as a wandering ronin who challenges other people to deadly duels. It's life or death. You have to practice every element perfectly. And yet here in the last book, he says, the way is not to find every instance and every perfect bit of the thing you already know. It's to realize that there are things you don't know and to go outside of what you understand, to grow. The way is the void, and the void is the way. This piece about doctrine, this belief that things are correct and in order, but then if you look at them objectively from the viewpoint of the laws of the world, you see various doctrines departing from the true way. That reminds me of what we just talked about Geto and coming up with a rational, logical reasoning. That rationality, once it's stated or reasoned out, ceases to be in line with the way, because the way cannot be stated like that. The void cannot be expressed except in its opposites. And you'll see that in the paragraph, people in this world look at things mistakenly and think that what they do not understand must be the void. This is not the true void, it is bewilderment. He's using that exact grammatical technique, and he's expressing what the void is by saying all the things that it isn't. By pointing out what it's not, we can hone in and triangulate on what it might be. And that's the nature of these kinds of conversations. Unfortunately, I can't take the understanding of Mu and give it to you. I can point out a bunch of things that the understanding of Mu is not, and that might help you get closer to it. Does that make sense? I don't know if any of this makes any fucking sense. We're off the road here, folks. We're off the path. Or maybe that's exactly where we should be. That is what Musashi says, isn't it? that by seeking out the void, you find the way. That's pretty neat. That's pretty neat. Is it just grammatical gymnastics, emotional self manipulation to make yourself feel special? Maybe. Same with the idea of like feeling enlightened. Yeah, maybe. But I'll tell you, when I read this through for real the first time, and I got to polish the twofold spirit, heart, and mind, and sharpen the twofold gaze, perception, and sight. Just perception is not sight, and sight is not perception, blew my fucking mind. And then something about the next line, when your spirit is not in the least clouded, when the clouds of bewilderment clear away, there is the true void. I read that, and I stopped, and I took a little walk around the house, and I came back and I read it again. And I went, whoa. And I felt clarity, weirdly. I felt a little bit of that unclouding of spirit. The recognition that the truth is right in front of you. The way toward improvement or growth, toward pushing outside of yourself, is right in front of you. You know what you know, and that teaches you what you don't. There is what you must seek. And so all of this ends up throwing into context for me. Over the past week, well, over the past years, I've been toying with the idea, but over the past week, I've become convinced that I need to join a martial art of some kind, and I need some kind of combat practice. I need it. It's a lack in me. It's a piece of me that I know that I don't know. And when I read this, I went, yeah, I'm gonna go join that boxing gym, and I'm going to. There's a boxing gym that's like 2.5 blocks away from me, and 2 days ago, I went and I walked into it, and talked to the guy who owns it. Interesting looking fella, big guy. Went and talked to the guy who owns it, asked him how much it is a month, sort of glanced around, saw that it was a really clean space, saw a couple of people training really hard there. He told me, this is a fighting gym, there are amateurs here, they're actually going for it, this isn't a cardio kickboxing place. Okay, cool. And so I left. And then I looked the guy up, and he's an Olympic medalist and like multiple time cruiserweight champion. But that was before I read this. And when I read this, it just clicked for me. There were no clouds there. I've been dancing around this idea of going into a gym like that. Been dancing around it for a while, and it clicked, and my spirit became unclouded, and I knew where I needed to go. Because there is a space that I have not filled, that I am not in. So that's where I'm going. Find voids. Make them the way. And when you do, you expand your knowledge, and in expanding your knowledge, you expand, well, as Socrates said, the more I know, the more I realize I know nothing. The void gets bigger too. Limitless information. I thought that was cool. Maybe the connection isn't clear. That's fair. Very fair. But I still think it's really cool. Okay, now drawing time. This is going to be weird and split up because I'll probably edit that in so it's me talking over the drawing the whole time. Does that make sense? Okay. 5 rings. 6 eyes. Last one is created by the void between the others, yes? I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased. I like symbols. I like symbols when the symbol means more than you intended to mean, and I meant a lot of this symbol, but then there's some pieces that I like a lot. I like the way that these little interchanges look, these little connections. I like the fact that because of those little connections, the whole of the space is open to the outside. Like, you can actually draw a line through and through out into the down into the center from the outside. Like, it's all an open shape, but it all looks entirely closed. I really like that. I like some elements of this. I like it a lot. Yeah, yeah. And that core central eye is what sees. Num, 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 num. Pleasing. This pleases me. Thank you, Hammer. Good job. You ever try to force yourself into flow? You know, the flow state when time disappears and you're just entirely locked into something? Not exactly ADHD hyperfocus, but in the same realm. Flow state, something that anybody can achieve. You ever try to force it? Doesn't work. You ever let it happen naturally? Works all the time. It's weird. I'm in it now. I'm on. And I'm ready to go for JJK episode 5. I don't know what we're gonna follow up last episode with. They can't keep ramping it up. But maybe they can. Let's go ahead and watch this episode and find out what we've got in store. I've got episode 5 of season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen using the Shroud Blu-ray versions up and ready to go with Kaizoku Honorifics subtitles. 2 versions, picture-in-picture in the description, timer on YouTube, beep beep timer to count you down, early access on the Patreon, beep beep timer to count you down. Let's go. I'm dead. Lost. 1 year. Fuck. Okay. Oh, were we just testing infinity? Uh. Oh, he looks tired. Okay. Automated defense system. Maths and science. Yeah, so you can't get Toji stabbed. These angles are really interesting on this other side. There's a lot of separation going on. Ooh. Truly transcending. Truly just moving in his own direction, totally. And all continuously recognizing what he doesn't know. You seem sad and tired. Oh, you've been rejected. You've been left in the dust. Aha. Yeah, this separation is huge. and the jokes aren't landing or connecting. They're not the friends that they used to be. So here we go. Like maggots. Clippity clap clap. Okay, here we are, back to the beginning. This is where he ended up. And yet they've locked into his mind. Who am I doing this for? Is it for them? For the fucking humans? Saves them. The non-sorcerers, the useless. Monkeys. Oh! Oh! It's your duty, it's your duty, it's your responsibility! Oh my god, paprika. Like, instantly Satoshi Kon vibes. Same with the big distance shots, too. We're gonna cut to rain outside. Oh, nope. You gonna die? You're gonna die on that, aren't you, Haivara? Death flag. Death flag. He's all still thinking about Satoru. Death flag. Can't relate. Such a pro tag. Doesn't give you any comfort though, does it? Wait! Wait! Are you... You're Toto's... Hi, butter. Oh, doesn't get what you just put down there at all. I'm awful is what he said. Bye. Top tier. Top tier. Top tier. She has a motorcycle too. Oh, what kind of men do you like? Special grade. There are only like 4 of those. Are we full along with us now? The useless one. Bochi! That was Bochi stuff. Oh, she's getting in under the skin. She's gonna get in under the skin. Treat the cause? Which means killing all the humans because they're born from human emotions? Is that... Holy shit, it clicks with him. Emotions? Oh. Make a world where it's only sorcerers. Someone with their energy removed? Oh, he has no energy. A heavenly restriction instead. So apply a heavenly restriction to everybody, and then nobody's special. God, we're full. Once everybody's special, nobody will be. Curse resistance. That we lost him. Really interesting perspective she's got. The logic lines up. The logic lines up. They have control. They're superior. And those non-sorcerers, they're monkeys who are actually causing the problems. But he doesn't see any interest in uplifting people. He just came to the conclusion on his own. Bam. And her face should be shocked. But it's not an option. It can't be. But he's thinking it. Seizon Senyaku! Seizon Senyaku! I just heard that. That's crazy. Oh, you should be careful who you tell ideas to, lady. He might be crazy enough. Oh. Yeah, but you resent that. Slave morality. Slave morality. He's rejecting it, man. What's the point? Man, he is lost. Still on the fence, still savable. Damn, lady, you set him on this path, man. Well, I feel like some other instance is going to set him on this path. God damn, if she had been able to talk to him today. No, he won't. What? So everything that we did was kind of for naught in the first place? Yarg! The important part. Haibara, you died? Did I call it? That's Nanami. Damn. Why not let God handle it? Oh, Shah. Murders involving a student? Oh, those are the kids. I'm gonna have to look through that. Those are the two. But humans don't believe. They believe it's the people, not the curses. They can see it. The others can't. There are two of him. Turning blood. Yep, he's gonna kill them. One shadow. Become what they think you are. Whoa. And the button falls. He leaves it behind. Currently on the run. Is Gojo reading it? Yeah. First order is to kill him. God, the frame. It looks like. You won't believe it. That was the same fuzzing. Feels like mind game. These close-ups on expressions, they feel like mind game. This is spectacular. Oh. Oh, hi, buddy. You're on the murder alert. Wait, did he like that dude's cigarette and not hers? Wait. Oh, okay, cool. You killed a bunch of people. Because it's the right thing to do. It's rational. Hey, he's here. This is gonna be the meeting, the conversation. Asked her to try to confine him or restrain him or something. Yeah, he's moving against the tide completely. This sea of people doesn't exist to him anymore. They're not people. They're a block. My family is all sorcerers. There is a point to it. There's a finish line. Yep. 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 To eliminate curses entirely. Yeah, how dare you? How dare you think that I couldn't do this? If I became the strongest. And there's the rift, the real rift. You look down on me. Contempt and resentment. Fuck! There's no coming back. There's no coming back. He's locked into a way without recognizing the void outside it. And he goes, and he can't. There would. But not this time. Oh, macaroni. Holy ciabatta. Holy focaccia. Pumpernickel. Nah, Mikey. Monogatari? Monogatari? They just keep rising, like... Oh, this is that guy. He's gotta start, yep. Gotta start building up, and he raises these two, his family. Hi, fuckers! What's up? You're all dead, but give me money! Give me money! Many objected. You should not have objected. Let's make an example. Oh! You motherfuckers! Join or die! Unclouded. There's darkness to clarity, man. So Gojo went and found him. Oh man. Yeah, it's my own thing, man. Your dad tried to kill me once, it's still weird. Yeah, he sucks. He's standing in his shadow. Well, he's not doing anything now. I killed his ass. Yeah, I killed him. My bad. Oh, nope, not quite. Man, he's been through some hard shit. It toughens a kid up real fast. He doesn't. It's all about her. Nah. You will not like it there. She's not a sorcerer, they're gonna hate her. An understatement. I don't know about that, man. That's a high bar. So we just time skip a bunch more? Are we back to present day present time? Are we back to present day present time? Holy shit, is this a 5-episode arc that's now over? Holy titterino. Linguini, fettuccine, Alfredo. Mozzarella. Pepperoncinis. What the fudge? That was an amazing episode. Direction all the way through is spectacular. That was movie level. Actually felt movie level, better than the Zero movie in a lot of ways, but movie level, easy. The focus on faces and expressions, the way of creating like slightly off angles for those faces and expressions so that it's unsettling. Masterful. Really reminiscent of Satoshi Kon. Like, and of Mind Game. Particularly of Mind Game. Anything after? Nope. Looks like we're going back to youngsters. So Yukoto. And it looks like we've finished our pastime arc. So as I started to emphatically blather as we ended the episode and jumped into the ED, this is masterful. The direction of this episode is actually a dramatic step up from the past four, in a way that's really interesting. It's so intimate, so focused on faces, and so focused on creating distance and separation and discontent and unsettling, just slightly unsettling scenes. From the play that we do with light and shadow, keeping Geto here in the back, in the dark, to how, like, depressed physically he is in terms of his amount of action, like degree of action. His walk changes a little bit, his movement changes a little bit. He's static in a lot of these scenes when nobody else is. But most poignantly, most importantly, most crucially, the physical boundary is created between them. Gojo's limitless is one thing, but the camera produces a much more poignant boundary. Here, it's created with distance, but throughout this scene, it's much more effectively created with just not showing them together. One side and the other side, as far on the screen apart as they could be, one in shadow, one in the light, an enormous tree to separate them. As they stand, he stands in the background, looking down on us, but exhausted and tired, and in that background. This is what I mean by those faces being at slightly odd angles. It looks like Satoshi Kon. It also looks like some of Yuasa's stuff. Let's point that out as well. There's a lot of odd facial framing in a lot of Masaaki Yuasa's work as well that I think is worth pointing out and saying there are similarities here. There's crossover. In no way am I trying to say this is like that. It's the same thing, but there are tension similarities or tone similarities that are really interesting and really effective. The scenes in particular when Geto is sitting and the Toto's grandma teacher, Toto's sensei comes in. Those scenes and how we cascade out of them, and once he starts making the decisions, those are potent. Those are interesting. Those are methodical and thoughtful. So before we go even a step further, I have two questions that need answering. Who is ADing on this episode? Who's the AD? We know that it's Goso for the overall direction. Who's the animation director? Right? Or episode director. Like, sorry, not AD, ED. Who's doing the episode direction? Who's helming this episode? Because it feels really distinct from all the other ones, you know? Feels really distinct from all the other ones. Second, I need to know what Toto's sensei's voice actress's name is. Oh. Goshizono storyboarded it himself. Direction credit. Episode direction credit goes to Atsushi Nakagawa, who I've seen before. Let's see where I've seen you before. Truly nothing. What the fuck? In between animation credits, couple Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 credits, couple key animator credits for a bunch of things. As far as episode direction and stuff, one episode of Princess Connect Redive, episodes 13 and 17 of Osama Ranking. So that's how he knows Goshizono, probably. Some XV Symphogear key animation. Basically nothing that gives me anything. Shit, fuck, tits. Okay. Cool. And CAD, Chief Animation Director, Sota Yamazaki. CAD for a bunch of episodes of Chainsaw Man. Some Haikyuu stuff. Okay. Yuki Tsukumo. Noriko Hidaka. Oh, she's Nate River, which is near, right? That's near? Yeah, that's near. In Death Note. She is Kurapika. She is Noriko Takaya, the Gunbuster one. Holy crap. And Chariot de Nord. Oh my god. She's a bunch of people. No wonder she sounded familiar. Okay. That's all the information that I wanted to know, and what I've discovered is nothing, except that Shota Goshizono did storyboard this episode himself, although he did not episode direct it. Whew. We open up on Gojo completely exploring his abilities, continuously pushing himself further, and with a disconnected self-awareness, recognizing his capacity, where he's growing and where he's not, where he hasn't grown, where he hasn't learned yet, the things he hasn't accomplished, domain expansion, long-distance teleportation, etc. But he's pushing toward them, moving on. There is a long hallway, a pathway that doesn't have an end to it, but instead ends in brilliant light. It's a light at the end of the tunnel for Gojo as he pursues creation. This is going to be echoed here as we point down these hallways, and one of them hits an exit and the other hits a dead end. Gojo sees a path, and he doesn't necessarily know what the end goal of that path is. He's not necessarily pushing down this direction with an end game in mind. He doesn't need one. He doesn't need a finish line at the end of his marathon. There's endless light on the whole of the journey, right? It's that hallway. It goes on. We've had a hallway already in this show, in just a couple episodes ago. And how was it? It was infinite, right? Infinite hallways. Not that that actually necessarily means anything, but it's striking to me that this symbol appears multiple times in the same episode. And it's also striking to me how much we shy away from showing faces. Or at least Gojo's face. It's almost as though Geto can't look at him, and can't speak to him, can't be honest with him. Satoru became the strongest. But Suguru... well, we turn to a different path, don't we? And it's going to be the path that gets pointed to later. That's it, isn't it? This is the same as the red and the blue. Gojo, in his enlightenment, is seeking growth for its own sake. There's this faith in him that by pushing onward, he'll find reason and something, right? Or perhaps that he's already found it, that he's dispensed, in the sort of enlightenment Buddhist sense, that he's dispensed with the desire for an end game or a goal, that he's content with pushing and growing here in the present, in the now, and worrying. It's like there's something about the way that the light consumes the scene and you can't quite see the end to it or anything like that. It just sort of fades into nothingness. It makes it seem like it's infinite, like it could be forever, like there doesn't have to be an end goal. But Gojo's side leans straight to darkness, handling missions alone, and then so are you. So we find out that the only reason, really, that Geto was able to handle those missions is because he was with Gojo. That's the implication that I get. They were a joy, not because of doing it. Geto has never reveled in doing it, never enjoyed it, but because of who he was doing it with. And from the great distance at the bottom of the steps, Geto doesn't let Gojo in. Are you okay, man? You seem not okay, man. He recognizes it. He's not blind. He can see. But what do you do when a friend is dismissive toward your attempts to reach out? What do you do in a circumstance like this when they're drifting away from you? As expressed by how small Gojo is here, how far away he is. There's an emptiness to this moment. I'll be fine. And Gojo responds with a little joke, a little jab, a little, it's an invitation to play. You ever watch dogs? They go like this. And that's the invitation to play. That's what Gojo does here, right? It's like, hey, are you all right? You're good? Okay, you want to play? You want to play? Haha, you ate too much somen? Haha, we're still friends, right? We're still friends? Poke. No response. Dead air. Okay. Interesting. But, and I speak from experience, but then you go, okay, well, maybe they just don't want to tell me what's going on, and probably the thing to do is to To leave that be and let them handle it. Step away from that and let it go. And that's exactly what I did with my friend who I talked about in the last episodes. My invitations to play started meeting dead air. So I started asking, "Are you okay?" And his answers were dismissive. So I left him alone. Let a couple months go by. And there was avoidance, like total avoidance. No contact. So after a couple months, the opportunity to talk to him, go up, ask him if he's okay. And what spills forth is months of stewed resentment. Oh. So what would have been the solution? If you're here. Because after here, I don't know if it's solvable. But if you're here, maybe there's hope. Right? Maybe there is. I think you break the wall here. This is my actual human advice to another human being. If you find yourself in a relationship like this where it seems to be falling into neglect or disconnect or something, address it explicitly. When you get here and the joke doesn't land, it's just heat fatigue. At this point, you climb the steps and you get closer to the person and you look at them in the eye and you say, "Hey, I need to speak to you seriously. I don't believe you. If you tell me that everything is really, really okay, then I'll leave you alone and I'll believe you. But as it stands, I don't think I believe you. And I'd really, really like to help. This means a lot to me." You try to be open and genuine and straightforward and not lean on the sort of small talk that starts a friendship, but go straight to the root of what is actually here and what's actually at stake. Hey, there's something going on. This energy's weird. Can we address it? What's going on? How different would life be if Satoru had been able to speak to him here? To like really speak to him? To actually hash this out in some way? Would they have come to different conclusions? I don't know. But it wouldn't have resulted in months of no contact and then getting a stack of papers that says that this guy's an enemy of the state dropped on your desk. That's a different story. Busy that summer. So in darkness, one thing keeps echoing in his mind, being applauded by all these normal humans. Exercise, consume, exercise, consume. And we rehash those conversations. We ask that core question, who is this for? Who is it for? And the answer that he seems to come to is, apparently it's all for them, and they don't seem to care at all. They don't seem to matter at all. I'm just stuck in a loop of solving problems that they caused that don't affect me. And by forcing us, the chosen people, the ones who are sorcerers, to go and fight for them, to protect them, we die. We sacrifice ourselves. We pay this debt in our blood, in a pile of our friends' bodies. There's nothing out of the ordinary about that. Nothing out of the ordinary about consuming and exercising. And yet, I chose to be a sorcerer who saves others. Stay the path. Don't lose your way. Follow through with your duty. The most striking shot is what an angle. Straight out of Poon Poon, straight out of Fire Punch. The degree of emotion that's put into this shot, I think this might be the best shot of the year. Up there. For just a single frame shot, right? Ignore animation, ignore everything else for a single frame, a composition. He's just staring daggers into the darkness. He's not looking at the wall next to him. He's looking into nowhere. Consumed by void. Wow. And then we do these 3 little cuts along it as we pull in closer and closer, and the rain sound, the water sound becomes overwhelming. The whole time he's been withholding that thought, that feeling, that belief. He's been continuously rejecting it even though it keeps bubbling up inside him. Pushing it down, pushing it away. But there it is. It's their fault. Friendly boy. He's so friendly. You know, this whole scene is really strange to me. It looks really weird. And I'm going to say something that I think is going to sound really weird. This whole scene looks to me like Ajin. You know that period where Netflix was putting out a bunch of like Polygon Studios productions? I don't think Ajin is actually Polygon Studios. It's somebody else. It might be. Putting out a bunch of like 3D, 2D sort of shows. A lot of their character and Knights of Sidonia, especially Knights of Sidonia, this sort of character movement looks a lot like that. It's weird. Sunny, sunny outside. Cute little interaction. And Geto can keep up the kindness. Can't help but think of Satoru. We pull further and further out. As he starts to ask those potent questions, he's using other people as backboards for his own ideas. He's testing things out in a way that he hopes will be safe. To see if he's crazy. To see if he's insane for thinking the way that he does. To get some level of validation. Yeah. But of course, he's talking to the wrong person for that. A true protagonist. A true good boy. Yeah, you're right, but it doesn't really get through. She is top tier. Yeah. This is a little snap. A great judge of character. You say while sitting next to me? Oh, that's a weird thing to say, isn't it? Yeah, it's not that weird when you're ideating genocide. This is so cool. That's so cool. He's like, really? A great judge of character? What am I thinking right now? What am I thinking? Huh? You? Huh, Haibara? I don't know, you're thinking about what kind of snacks to get? Gojo? No, I'm thinking about murdering all the non-sorcerers. All of them. You don't know nothing, Haibara. You don't understand at all. Hi. But she gets it. She reads it. Yo, that lady fights. Just want to mention this twice. A lady lifts and fights. Okay, so here's how you can tell is because she has more physical muscle pec mass than breast matter. And shoulders and shit. Chick fights. Chick lifts and fights. Damn. I have a type. I have a type. I love this. Straight out of FMA. The freaking funny face. You're the shitty one who wanders around. Why? Well, we don't see eye to eye. They treat the symptoms. I want to treat the cause. And she opens his eyes to a dark, dark path. Really interesting. 2 ways to eliminate them. And neither of those ways is going and exercising them. And neither of those ways comes from strength. It comes from overall dramatic, systemic change, right? Sorcery is innate. The ability to use or see it. It's innate. Okay. But non-sorcerers can have sorceress children, right? Pretty sure. And definitely sorcerers can have non-sorceress children, right? It's not like it breeds true. Okay. So, at core, the idea doesn't work. You're gonna commit to killing children as they're born without sorceress energy forever. That's a problem. Still, you could reduce it immensely. One way would be to eliminate their cursed energy, essentially give all of them a restriction or a blessing. Everyone. Making it nobody's special. And the other is to go full Xenome. What is his name? What's his name? Incredible's bad guy? Syndrome! If everybody's special, no one will be. Proof of concept, Toji. We start washing these over the screen behind them. He became resistant. He had no energy at all. A real shame we lost him. When we know the guy, like we've seen the guy, it's not a shame at all that he's gone. But we also get to see how this chick operates psychologically. It's all about getting to goals. Means to ends. And ends justify means. She seems pretty clear on that. So then, the second route is the one that she would favor. They use it. They recognize it. They're channeling it. It flows. So why not just kill every non-sorcerer? He makes the jump. But of course he makes the jump. He's been looking for a justification to do that anyway. He's not starting at logical principles and building out his answer from them. He's starting with an answer that he's seeking. An endpoint that he wants. And then he's working backward to justify it. There's a dramatic distinction. One is organic, one is forced. One is manifest from as an emergent property of all the truths that you learn. You learn a bunch of truths about the world, and from them you can structure like interactions of truths, if this then that sort of statements. And then from that you can eventually reach towards some kind of goal point that would make all those truths move in a certain direction. He starts the other way around, and he's been doing it since Gojo said that line, maybe before. He's been thinking that thought and looking for a way to justify it. If only I could find a reason. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Raskolnikov in Crime and Punishment. I can't remember. I don't know why I didn't think of Crime and Punishment. Raskolnikov comes to a logical, rational set of reasons to commit a murder. To kill a person who he comes to the conclusions is deserving of it, and it would make the world better dramatically if he were to kill her. He comes to those rational conclusions. But you can look at his story and you realize that what he's looking for is a reason to do something like that in the first place. A reason to change everything, a way, right? A particular way to lock into. Geto jumps to this. Why not just do this? And for the first time speaking to anyone, somebody acknowledges it as possible. That is an option. And his response, he then gets to take the role of his internal conscience, of his internal mind, the part that goes, I don't know about that. There's something in my understanding of reality that prevents me from crossing that threshold, the part that rejects it, as she will say. Indeed, that might be the easiest way, and the sun begins to go down. Force them. Fear and danger, make them adapt and evolve. But me? I'm not crazy enough to do that. And the rain begins to fall. So we're back in the shower. Crazy? No. But resentful? Hateful? Oh yeah. Do you hate them? And he responds, I don't know. What a powerful thing to say. He doesn't jump to denial. No, I don't hate them. He considers it. Because there is deep, deep resentment there. Nor does he say, yes, yes, I do. To do that would be to embrace that emotion, and then he could control it. He says, I don't know. It's been wavering in my mind. I'm uncertain. And we do this same cut. Okay, so check this out. So this is here. We're in the far wide, a little bit closer, and then we're elsewhere, okay? Back to the shower, in the shower, outside, wide, closer, okay? On the front side of the shower, wide, zoom, closer, okay? We've established this cut, reveal, cut, moment, cut, line. We've established it 3 times, I think, at least 3 times. And then it happens here. Dink, dink, dink. The preciousness of the week, the ugliness of the week. Part of me despises them, and part of me wants to reject that feeling. Torn. Split of 2 minds, multiple shadows. Honestly, I would say at war with shadow would be the way that I would put it. At war with shadow. Damn. I can't see what lies at the finish line. I don't know how I truly feel. And she answers it, well, her answer is moo. It's neither. It's in between. It's on the fence. It's toppling. It's tipping. It's sitting in the middle of 2 paths. Possibilities. It's in uncertainty. Heisenberg style. It's not a switch with power in it. With one of 2 states in it. It has no power. It's undecided. The non-deterministic finite state automata has not clicked into a deterministic state. They're both just possibilities. You have yet to decide. And so she leaves him in a state of indecision, and kind of very funny how she goes away, and then back, just does a Yui. Oh, and by the way, this is very strange, and I don't understand why yet. Maybe it'll be explained later. Unclear. That whole big mission that you guys went on doesn't seem to matter. Maybe there was another one. Maybe a new one's been born. Whatever happened, didn't have any effect. Didn't change anything. Did nothing. Of course. And then a dark hallway. And a very much flagged death. There's something about this moment where Geto slowly closes his eyes and tells Nanami to get some rest. It's got that ring of an old soldier who knows death way too well and just expects it. He's talking to a younger recruit who's watched one of his squad mates die or something like that. And he's just jaded. At first it's kindness. It's like, oh wow, he's able to put that aside and think about Nanami's mental state here and tell him that he needs to rest and be kind to him and be compassionate. But I don't think that's what it is. I think this just confirms my beliefs. This is not a surprise. Of course the non-sorcerers would worship this thing and make it even stronger and make it a more of a problem for us and kill one of our best internally. One of the true like shining lights of, as long as I'm doing good at stuff, it's good. I don't know. And of course that would reaffirm everything that Geto's been thinking. Why don't we just leave everything up to him? Bam. Blood. What if all we're working toward is more of this? So we don't see this here yet. We will shortly after. Geto comes here. They've locked up some children and they're doing that blame game. Witch hunting. He knows they're not responsible because he's eliminated the curses that were. He knows it. Subject of investigation, Geto Suguru. did not return after 5 days of mission commencement, so he was sent out to defeat. Devastation on site, 112 fatalities. Long history of missing persons, unexplained deaths, caused by cursed spirits. He was tasked with finding and exorcising them. They're the crazy ones! No faces. Faces. The kids have faces. The monkeys don't. They're clapping faces. Cogs in a monkey machine. He doesn't see them as people anymore. He sees them as a threat. Monsters. And so with his own shadows, with his own curses, he tells them not to worry. And his halves, well, as he faces down cruelty and spite and destruction from non-sorcerers, from normal humans, that part that rejects it, that part that rejects despising because it's wrong, and because you know it's wrong, folds away. They're wrong too. And the smile is born, and the eyes are closed. The shadow is won. The decision is made, and it's just a snap to obliteration, snap to death. Is there any joy in this, or enlightenment? Any passion to it? No. His eyes are just as dead now. He's committed. A cause. And a rejection of what came before. 112 died. Fire destroyed 70%. All killed by a cursed spirit whose residuals match Geto Sugru's curse manipulation. It is assumed that he set the village on fire and fled the scene. Motive is unknown, not related to the victims. Discovered that a family of sorcerers used to live in the village, could have been part of his motive. Geto is currently on the run. In accordance with Article 9, he is now considered a curse user and subject to execution. Shoku! Shocked Pikachu. Huh? That shot. Fuck, it looks just like something else. Again, it's so close up that it's warped. It's like if you take a selfie of yourself, right? The camera warps the shape of your face. Your nose gets too big because it's too proximally close to the camera and stuff. That's what this feels like. It's warped. It's like reality isn't quite real. Which puts us right into Gojo's perspective. This can't be real. No, I heard you. That's why I said, huh? Because what the fuck? This doesn't make any sense. We've gone a couple months without seeing each other, and I thought he was just dealing with stuff on his own because he told me that everything was fine. It was just heat exhaustion. But it turns out that he's been ideating genocide? Oh. The fuck? Now I get a notice to go and kill him? The fuck? Damn. Damn. Clenched knuckles bleeding. Casual as can be. So wait, what is she smoking that isn't smoke? I don't get it. Alright, whatever. Are the charges false? Nope, I killed a whole bunch of people. Why? Well, I got a reason. Okay, I'm gonna call Gojo now. Sulking over the idea that no one will ever understand you sounds pretty childish to me. I agree. So we have the meeting. As he walks against this sea of faceless people. I think this is powerful. I can't allow my parents to be an exception. If I hold strong to an ideal, to a rule, then I must hold strong to it. I cannot be above the law that I express. But again, his parents are non-curse users and he's a curse user? Or a sorcerer? So it doesn't breed true, does it? Uh-oh. Getting into some funky territory there with bad eugenics. Not that any eugenics is good, but this is like distinctly, directly bad eugenics. You're talking about non-true breeding traits that can just result all the time. Uh-oh. Both of our characters have undergone a dramatic shift and an enlightenment, an expansion of self. Gojo has become one with reality. That's what that line means. Throughout all of heaven and earth, I am the only one who blah 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 blah. That's what that means. It's an expression, at least in my interpretation, it's an expression of interconnection, an expression of the knowledge and recognition that one's own Buddha nature is recognizable in all of reality, and that one can bless oneself through that in a real way. Gojo has expanded himself into transcendence. Geto has expanded himself into a little tight-knit community. This is my family. It's these people, and everyone outside that boundary is outside of the boundary. They are the other. Mine are sorcerers. Gojo is connected to everything. He realizes that those lines can't be drawn. Those lines can't be drawn. They're false. The interconnected rings are all open. His eyes can see that. Geto draws boundaries. Says everything outside that is the threat. Everything inside it is the good. It's a second level rejection of Nietzschean slave morality, like in a really interesting way. These two philosophical schools are going such dramatically different directions. Fascinating. I thought we weren't allowed to kill if there is no point to it. That's the answer you gave me. And we find out here, I think, that Gojo actually relied on Geto for that kind of an answer, for that kind of restraint, for that kind of cold and calculating logic. I relied on you for that. You were the one who stopped me. Oh, but my friend, there is a point, a cause, a righteousness. You know it's impossible. You can't possibly do it. And at that point, the gap between us is infinite, isn't it? How arrogant of you to tell me what I can and cannot do. Don't you realize that you could do it? All I'll have to do is catch up and become you, the strongest. Even there, his belief is so powerful. Snap, snap. If I could be you, my foolish ideals. I've chosen my path, and I'll follow it to the best of my ability, pulling from Haibara. So he turns, he walks, and from that point forth he has done exactly that. He even gives him permission to kill him. There would be a point to this killing. You are justified. But point or no, Gojo cannot kill his friend. Not here, not now. And, well, I don't know. Being strong isn't enough. People can only save themselves. One person saving another is impossible. Oshino Meme. I can only save those who allow themselves to be saved. Satoru Gojo. It's a little different. Gojo still takes it upon himself. Meme puts it on the other person. They have to save themselves. Gojo says, I can save them, but they have to be willing. It's a little different. It's not that different. You can't help someone who chooses to walk the other direction. You just can't. And so Geto takes his place on stage, makes his examples, makes his change. And Gojo starts making his moves too. Pretty interesting conversation with Megumi. Strong enough to keep up with me in the wide. So in the end, our black fish and our white fish drift apart. Our blue and red don't come together. One walks down the dark hallway with a dark end, and the other a brightly lit hallway that leads to infinity. One finds reasons and uses those to justify his actions. The other seems to act based on what he believes, what he feels is true, what he feels is right. And he doesn't worry too much about the rest. Each of them is a separate character, a full person, containing multitudes, but together, this is often the case in fiction, together they're halves of a person as well, if you want to look at it that way. Conscious and subconscious, perhaps. Logic and emotion, perhaps. Shadow and self, perhaps. Now separated, they're destined to fight, destined to battle. There's a little bit of darkness in Gojo's light. There is a little bit of light and kindness in Geto's darkness. They embody a yin and a yang. Together, something whole, split apart, imbalanced. There are so many moments of inflection, points where things could have gone differently. Things should have gone differently. But those only really exist in hindsight as you look back and realize, maybe I could have, maybe I should have. This house is divided. And so now, our time in the past has come to a conclusion, and we snap back to the present. Geto's still alive, still working with these powerful curses to make manifest his dream, his goal, his cause. He's dispensed with everything outside of the narrow path that he's chosen for himself, become blind to so much of reality in pursuit of that one hallway, in pursuit of a finish line that he can accept. A doctrine, a justification, a reason, a cause. His is not the way, but it's close enough to convince him, and he will not be swayed from it. What a tragedy. I asked when we started this arc, what happened? What happened here? How did this change so much? And it wasn't some big pivotal moment or some great betrayal in particular. It's more real than that. A real drifting, a real withdrawal, a feeling of being unseen, of being unable to connect, of being unable to express what you feel. An unwillingness to taint your most precious relationship with those questions. He's willing to ask Haibara about them. He's willing to ask other people, but he knows Gojo will see through him. He knows that it'll be opening up a sparring match that he probably can't win, verbally or psychologically. And so he lets it rot from the inside. And eventually the tree falls apart. Tragic. So in their time, in their youths, Geto and Gojo did not solve this. Even when it came to Rika, In the movie, they did not solve this. They have clashed and clashed, but they remain, both of them. Until now, until new students have joined the picture. Geto has gathered his strength and made his plans. Gojo has gathered the new generation and is bolstering them, helping to train them. And now, with all of their history and all of this emotion in our back pocket, we can step forward into the present once more and see how the information that these characters have passed on to those who believe in them, who care about them, will shape reality. The strongest versus his best friend. Tragic. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Jujutsu Kaisen. That was a lot of discussion, a lot at the beginning, a lot at the end. Goodness gracious, I need to watch this episode again. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It's crazy how just changing the way that things are framed and putting faces a little bit too close to the camera for comfort changes everything so dramatically. Really, really an amazing piece of content here. Gotta take some notes. What a joy. Thanks for watching it. I'll see you next week for much, much more. Much love. Peace.